learning is important. The middle stage is through experiential learning, the middle years of a student's life, grade 6 to 8. That is 11 years to 14 years, when the children learn to explore a number of subjects, that is mathematics, arts, social sciences, humanities, different types of sciences. And moving on top, the topmost layer, where we have seen over the years that the dropout rates in this layer is the highest. So we need to strengthen the lower three layers so strongly that the children are confident and stay on in the secondary stage. That is the age from grade 9 to 12, and the ages are 14 to 18. This is the age when the children need to understand what are the career choices available for them, which can happen if we have in the pedagogy greater critical thinking, multiple disciplinary approach, as well as good flexibility in choices of subjects. We are now moving and shifting to competency-based teaching, learning, and assessment. That is, we are reducing the curriculum to the core essentials to minimum rote learning. We don't want our children to do rote learning at all. We want that sports should not be just played in the sports period. It has to be integrated with mathematics or languages. Even art integration and learning in classroom is essential for holistic development. So what are those four cornerstones for shift to competency-based teaching? The competency-based teaching as such includes the knowledge, the skill, and the attitude. Now, we have been talking about giving the children good education. Good education can happen only if we give them competency-based teaching, learning, and assessments. That is, by promoting critical and creative thinking, shifting the traditional assessments to now competency-focused assessments. What is this competency-focused assessments? Herein, we are going to test the child's thinking by giving them open-ended questions, that is HOTS questions. We need to move from lower order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills. I'm sure all your teachers already know how are we going to do HOTS questions, but this should not come only in 9th upwards. The open-ended questions, the children should be taught to discover and do right from their younger years, maybe from grade 3, 4, 5 in smaller tones and smaller portions. That to track the student progress comprehensively and frequently is very important. We need to track how the child has been progressively doing to design the tools and resources to acquire learning outcomes. Now we are matching all the learning objectives with learning outcomes. No learning outcome can stand by itself. CBSE has taken out different kinds of modules, and they have all the learning outcomes at one place. All you need to do is to download it and go through it, teachers. It's really very, very insightful. The various other features of stages in school are, for the foundational stage, it is activity-based learning, pedagogy of early childhood care and education, that is ECCE. Very, very important. In fact, there is a skill-based subject also introduced on ECCE in grade 11. There is a focus on good behavior, courtesy, ethics, personal and public hygiene, and cleanliness. So many programs CBSE has been giving us wherein we could instill these values amongst the children. There is a focus on teamwork and cooperation. The preparatory stage is the one where we have gradual transition from play-based learning to more formal classroom learning. There has to be interactive teaching learning. We are no longer going to be just teaching with chalk and talk method, but there has to be teaching where teacher takes the role of a facilitator and student comes forward and is the co-creator of new knowledge. Introduction of subjects including physical education, art, languages, science, and mathematics. It happens in preparatory stage. Emphasis on reading, writing, and speaking is so important. So in the middle age, as I said earlier only, that subject-oriented pedagogical and curricular methodology is very, very important. It's the attitude that has to change. They will need to be treated differently when they come into the middle stage, because here they would be having a variety of subjects to deal with, and they can easily explore in any way they want to, so that by the time they come in grade 9 and 10, they know what are the streams that they may take in 11 and 12. So subject teachers for learning discussion of more abstract concepts in science, social science, and humanities need to be covered in the middle stage. The high school or the secondary stage, it involves 4 years of multidisciplinary study, greater depth, greater critical thinking, greater flexibility of subject choices. Now, a child who wants to study physics along with, say, another subject, say, history, and the child would be able to pick and choose what he wants to study. There won't be any walls for the child as long as the subject choice will help him to take up a career of his choice. There will be exposure to more subjects to enable greater flexibility. More frequent assessment of modules will be done so that assessment is done better. Coming back to ECC, the foundation of learning. The goals are to ensure that all children they entering the grade 1 are school ready by 2030. Well, all these ideologies and the concepts or the new terminology that you are getting acquainted to will not happen overnight. The NEP has made a timeline and slowly everything will fall into place. To attain the optimal outcome in the domain of physical and motor development, the cognitive development, the socio-emotional development, when the child goes into the school, he gets to all these in the foundational age. So numeracy, literacy, and good communication and learning early languages is one of the goals. And also we have the goal of pedagogy development. Government is planning to introduce a 6-month certificate program in ECE and also 1-year diploma program covering early literacy, numeracy, and other relevant aspects of ECE. This program is going to bridge a gap, between pre-grade 1 to post-grade 1 classes so that children get acquainted with how they have to move from pre-primary to primary levels. There will be an introduction of a preparatory class before class 1 for children of age 5 years so that learning shall be based on play-based learning with the focus of developing comprehension skills, writing skills, basic mathematical skills, and basic life skills. Grade 3 is very, very important stage because grade 3 also we're going to have an assessment now. Grade 3 there will be assessment, grade 5 there will be assessment, in 8th there will be assessment, 10 and 12 there will be assessment. So in this way, we are now talking about grade 3 being very, very important because this is the age for foundational learning and numeracy, which is going to be ingrained through foundational skills. And for that, a national mission on foundation literacy and numeracy. Remember these 3 acronyms, FLN, foundational literacy and numeracy, is going to be introduced. There will be book promotion and it will be, a policy will be formulated and public and school libraries will be expanded. Libraries will not be just limited to what a particular school has. There will be more public libraries accessible to children and parents in the evenings. Early learning, focus on reading, writing, mathematics. And as I said, a 3-month play-based school will be a preparatory module for all grade 1 students before they step into grade 1. And for that, teachers will also be getting necessary training. The national repository, the high quality teaching and learning resources are already there on Diksha. If you haven't had a look at it, I think you should do it because it's got fantastic resources. It's a repository of good content, which any school, irrespective of where they are, can have a recourse to. Libraries, including digital libraries, are going to be leveraged, curtailing the dropout rates. That is very, very important to ensure the universal access to education at all levels. This is important because the main theme of our new education policy is universalization of education right from pre-primary, primary, secondary, middle school, and senior secondary levels. To do that, to bring the children back to school and to prevent them from dropping out, there are going to be regular trained teachers at each state. as I'll be coming later, every teacher will have to do at least 50 hours of training to equip herself with the necessary know-how and to sharpen her knowledge, to instill the new knowledge that she must ingrain, and the universal participation in school by carefully tracking students as well as their learning levels in order to ensure that they are enrolled in and they are attending school and they have suitable opportunities to catch up and re-enter school in case they have fallen behind. There could be certain instances where, due to certain family unavoidable reasons, some children have to drop out. There will be now possibilities to join back. Community partnership will be there in terms of expertise and infrastructure support. There will be distance learning program, which we're already doing, and everyone is familiar with, the open and distance learning, NIOS, National Institute of Open Schooling, and state open schools will be expanded and it will be strengthened. And I must say that there are certain 21st century skills that we all need to instill in our classroom, because we are dealing with the children who are the digital natives, and we all happen to be the digital migrants to, to narrow the gap between these two things. It's important that we instill 21st century skills. Look at the extreme right hand side. You have the 4 C's lined up: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. Their children need to learn in groups, because when they learn in group, there is group dynamics that always comes in place, which helps them to have better overview of the concepts that they are learning, better communication skills, which are so very important, so that the children, whatever they know, they should be able to express themselves as well. The critical thinking means a question that is given to them should be open-ended so that the child is able to apply his mind. Creativity, that is the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy. The child needs to think in a creative manner. A story's end could change, a story's plot could be same, the character could change. Any examples? The health and fitness is so important as a skill. Social responsibility. Every child has to think and grow beyond himself, beyond his own family, his school, and his own little neighborhood. The child needs to be responsible for the nearby community, for his nation, and for the entire globe. Ethics and value system is very important for us to instill in them. The scientific temperament will come when we instill, ask them, tell me why, tell me how, right from the years of grade 1 and 2. Problem solving, the attitude to look at diverse solutions and select one, the best out of them. The digital literacy, which I think because of COVID, the entire nation has gone ahead in the digital literacy mode, and more or less everyone now is able to equip themselves with this skill. Introduction of contemporary subjects at all levels. These are already introduced by CBSE. These are brilliant subjects. Artificial intelligence already introduced from the middle school, that is grade 6, 7, and 8. The holistic health, which is again very important. In fact, artificial intelligence is introduced in grade 9 and 10, as well as in grade 11 as a skill subject. The data science, that is how to protect your intellectual property. The data is so valuable. Machine learning, design thinking, organic living, these are the new subjects which are getting introduced and already introduced actually. The year-long course during grade 6 to 8 that the policy has been talking about, there have been surveys and hands-on experiences of sampling of important vocational crafts. Now, what the policy wants that grade 6 to 8 students should be made to get in sync with the local crafts, the carpentry, electric works, the metal works, gardening, pottery. So how will the school heads find the right kind of people? The community has to be approached, and community needs to be come forward to give this help to the schools to get the right kind of people. And then each state could decide and what are the different activities wherein their local craftsmen could come forward and give these new knowledge to the children, like electrical works, pottery, gardening, carpentry. These are the various courses that could be done for the children in grade 6 to 10. Also, the emphasis on vocational education. It is so important in this policy, as it says, that there should be 10 days of bagless period during grade 6 to 8 when the child comes absolutely hassle free to the school without bag and is able to intern or take the real hands on experience with the local vocational experts, right? So these kind of internship opportunities to learn the vocational subjects throughout grade 6 to 12 will give them another opportunity later on in life to take up diverse career options. Vocational courses can be through online mode as well. There will be periodic exposure to activities outside the school. Vocational courses can be offered through open and distance learning mode. And by the year 2025, at least 50% of the learners will have the exposure to vocational education. So this is important that they have given us a timeline, they've given us breathers, they've given us time to understand mathematics and computational thinking, which is so important. There will be an increased emphasis throughout the school year, starting with the foundational age. And introduction of activities involving coding in middle stage, that is right from grade 6 to 8, when we introduce artificial intelligence, children will automatically acquire competence for coding as well. So use of a variety of innovative methods using the regular use of puzzles, games. Why puzzles and games? To enhance the critical thinking skills so that mathematics could become more enjoyable and more engaging. Knowledge of India. So important for all of us. You see, we have a number of states where there are a number of tribal people living, and they have such rich knowledge, which is not yet, exposed. So I think it's very important that knowledge from ancient India, its contribution to modern India, and its successes and the challenges and the important people who have been, the guiding stones across the years could be informed to the children through various means. Indian knowledge system, including tribal knowledge and indigenous and traditional ways of learning and specific courses in tribal ethno-medicine practices, forest management, traditional crop cultivation, natural farming will be made available. An engaging course on Indian knowledge system in secondary school will be introduced as an elective subject. There could be competitions in schools for learning various topics. There could be video documentaries on inspirational luminaries of India, ancient and modern in science curriculum. Students can visit various states as part of cultural exchange programs. Constitutional values will be developed in students. Why? Because they will understand and feel proud of their heritage. When a child feels proud of his heritage, whether he lives in India or abroad, he will always think of betterment of his own country. And excerpts from the Indian Constitution will also be considered essential reading for all the students. Knowledge of critical issues that face the local communities, states and country and the world should be known to a child. The health education is so very important. The basic training in health through NEP we are going to instill, including preventive health. Right? Mental well-being and health being there, the nutrition, the personal and public hygiene and first aid. Recently, there was some app introduced where the children were supposed to log on and learn about first aids. So now new techniques and new ways will be introduced by CBSE through which, the children will not be burdened. The books will not become heavier. Rather, the books will become lighter and there will be more of research-driven projects, online learning modules, so that the children are interested. Detrimental and damaging effects of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs will also be part of health education, which is a very important subject, also in grade 11 being introduced. Leveraging the power of multilingualism and language learning. Children whose primary language is not the language of instruction. See, this is one of the reasons because of which at times the children drop out the school or they fail in early grades. So keeping this in mind, the mother tongue or the home language or the local language as a medium of instruction wherever possible will be there until at least grade 5, preferably till at least grade 8. The Language of India will be a fun project activity in school to familiarize with the diversity of languages in the country. The National Curriculum Framework for School Education, that is NCFSE, and textbooks, well, the new framework is soon going to be introduced, and it will be undertaken by the NCERT. It will be based on the principles of new education policy and will be made available in all the regional languages. All textbooks will aim to contain the essential core material deemed important on a national level, but at the same time contain any desired nuances and supplementary material as per local context and needs. As Modi ji, our Prime Minister, also has been emphasizing upon going vocal on the local important things which the children must be acquainted with. Wherever possible, schools and teachers will also have choices in the textbooks they employ. From among a set of textbooks, they will choose those which are closer to the policies and values of their state, transforming the assessments for student development. The aim of assessment is to shift from rote memorization skills to formative. This is a more competency-based assessment to promote learning and development of students. It's important that we test the higher order skills such as analysis, critical thinking, and conceptual clarity. This comes when we give the children questions on comparisons, on open-ended questions, on the questions where they tend to think out of the box, the new questions, the case-based questions which have been introduced, the reasoning and assertion-based questions which have been introduced this year. I think that is really going to go a long way in making the children think critically. So the assessment for learning, optimized learning and development for all students. This will be the underlying principle for assessment at all levels of education. How do we transform assessments and track the student progress? See, this is very important. As the policy says, if the students are dropping out, so we need to track their progress across the school years. And for that, in grade 3, 5, 8, 10, and 12, these will be the important milestones where there will be school examinations, which will be important. So achievements of the basic learning outcomes through assessments of core concepts and knowledge from the national and local curricula, along with relevant higher order thinking skills and application of knowledge in real life rather than rote memorization will be taken up as very important. So therefore, the key features of the assessment would be not only assessment for, but also assessment that test core concepts and move away from rote memorization, conduct assessments for all schools, irrespective of whether they're private or government. Student data will be anonymized, that is, there will be public disclosure by schools of their outcomes so that the data, how the children are performing, will be everybody's knowledge because there will be standardized learning outcomes. Their data will be used for continuous monitoring and for improvement. We are going to redesign the report card to assess the holistic development of each child. So the progress in project-based and inquiry-based learning will be captured in the report card. The quizzes, the role plays, the group work, the portfolios will be made. The self-assessment and peer assessment will be done. So what is this 360-degree holistic report card? It means that there will be an important link between the home and school. That is, a child will be assessed by himself or herself. The child will be assessed by his peers, by his teachers. There will be some online tools for making the parents also assess them and the community. So this progress in cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains will take place through this kind of an assessment. And interactive questionnaires for parents, teachers, and students will be there. Teacher assessment will, of course, remain the most important thing. The results will be used only for developmental purposes of the school education, for public disclosure, as well as for continuous monitoring and improvement of the school system. systems. Regarding the guidelines for assessments, they will be prepared by NCERT in consultation with major stakeholders such as boards of assessments, National Assessment Center for School Education, and the transformation in the assessment system will come by 22-23 academic session, and it will be aligned with National Curriculum Framework for School Education 2021. The National Assessment Center for School Education, NACSE, will advise. So we will have someone aboard to take the advice and guidance from. It will advise us regarding new assessment patterns and latest researches for promoting collaborations between the school boards. The different states could have different boards to become an instrument for sharing of best practices between school boards. There will be a board that will bring together diverse boards at one place with sharing of their best practices about shifting their assessment patterns towards meeting the skill requirements of the 21st century and in consonance with the stated objective of this policy. Coming to teachers and teacher education, well, we have three options. The one-year B.Ed for those who have completed the equivalent of a 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor's degree or have obtained a master's degree in a specialty. As it is happening right now, the master's degree, if you have, after that, you're doing 1-year B.Ed. The second option is 2 years B.Ed for those applicants with an existing bachelor's degree in other specialized subjects. And 4-year integrated B.Ed will be the minimum qualification for teaching that includes students teaching at the local schools by the year 2030. 4-year integrated B.Ed would have the bachelor's as well as the education. They will be attached, and these all B.Ed programs will include training in time-tested techniques in pedagogy, multi-level teaching and evaluation, teaching the children with disabilities, teaching children with special interest or talents, the gifted ones, the use of educational technology and learner-centered and collaborative learning will be given a lot of importance. Teachers and teacher education, NEP 2020, National Professional Standards for Teachers will be developed by the year 2022. The professional standards will be reviewed and revised in 2030. And thereafter, every 10 years on the basis of rigorous analysis of the efficiency of the system. So look at the vision of the policy makers. They are not just content with what they have taken out. They are talking about its revision every 10 years. The quality 4-year integrated B.Ed programs are going to be really widely accepted. The transparency in transfers to online computerized systems will happen. Teacher eligibility tests, which are already happening, TETs, will be strengthened. Sharing of teachers across schools will happen. Schools or school complexes will hire local eminent person and experts as master instructors. Well, from where will these master instructors come? Well, we all have throughout the CBSE culture has the Sahodaya movement, wherein the school complexes come together. So they're going to share the eminent teachers amongst themselves and call them master instructors. A technology-based comprehensive teacher requirement planning is going to happen. And also the hubs of learning, the schools coming together, the CBSE concept is going to really play in well. Teacher education will gradually be moved by 2030 into multidisciplinary colleges and universities. Multidisciplinary higher education institutions offering the 4 years in class integrated B.A. program will happen to provide blended or ODL mode of teaching to students in remote areas. So NEP is aiming to support and nurture teachers through all phases of their tenure, whether it is the preparation of a teacher, before preparation also, before she becomes a formal teacher, and then comes recruitment, that is deployment and transfer from one school or one state to another, inside the classroom, online mode, as well as various training techniques and the professional development of a teacher, which is a continuous process. Continuous professional development or CPD, and improving the standards. Every teacher, every principal would have to undertake 50 hours every year driven by their own interests. That is, teacher education is going to include aspects of supporting gifted children And training teachers will be effective through online educators and workshops and training programs for development of school leaders and principals will happen. So 21st century teaching, learning and assessment will be at the heart of all teacher training programs. Anganwadi workers, teacher training in early literacy, numeracy and other relevant aspects of ECCE will happen. Inclusion and equity, as I earlier also told, inclusion is having an outlook for even those children who are lesser enabled, are suffering from dyslexia or any other problem, and equity, irrespective of their material wealth, each and every child should have the right to get all the insights of a good education. They will become a key aspect of teacher education and secondary specialization to be created for teaching kids with disability. So there is going to be a new and comprehensive national curriculum framework, as I earlier said, which is soon going to come. It will be formulated, and National Professional Teacher Standard, NPST, will be there. A standardization would be shared with us to set the benchmarks for expectations of the role of teachers. Equitable and inclusion education, that is NEP 2020. What are SEDGs will be formed and will be broadly categorized based on gender identities. So very important. Socio-cultural identities, that is scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBCs, geographical identities. It could be anywhere from villages and tribes and towns and districts, disabilities, irrespective of their learning disability. We're going to reach out to them. Already CBSE has made it so easy for children with learning disability by giving them extra time, by giving them a scribe. It's become much easier for children to perform. Socio-economic conditions such as migrant communities, low-income households, children in vulnerable situations could be a victim of trafficking or orphans, child beggars. For each and every one of them, we are going to have a focus on SEDGs, that is socio-economic disadvantaged groups. Separate strategies will be framed for them so as to widen to reduce the gap between what they are learning right now and what they should be learning. How to ensure equitable and inclusive education? Very important thing. That can be done by increasing the participation in the schooling system, by strengthening that SEZs be declared for educational disadvantaged groups. A gender inclusion fund could be there for girls and transgenders. Free boarding facilities will be built. Inclusion and equal participation of children with disabilities and ECCE. And the schooling system will be accorded the highest priority. The home-based education will be a choice for the children who are unable to go to schools. As we have seen these days during COVID times, children have been studying from home and parents have been actually being the home tutors for them and teachers being on the cloud. The home-based education will remain a choice for children who are in remote areas or are not able to come to school due to certain reason. Teachers must be helpful to identify such learning disabilities early. Teachers will be given this training to identify the gifted, to identify those who have learning disability, and to provide them support. Urgent need for additional special educators, as it is mandatory in all CBSE schools for one special educator at least and one counselor, so that the learning needs of the children are properly looked into. Alternative forms of schools will be encouraged to preserve their traditions or alternative pedagogical styles. Students in such schools will be encouraged to appear for state or other board examinations by the NTA, that is National Testing Agency. Special attention will also be given to reduce the disparity for SCs and STs. Opening of NCC wings, very, very crucial. In secondary and higher secondary schools will be encouraged. Students will be sensitized to this new school culture, and human values such as empathy, tolerance, human rights, gender equality, non-violence, citizenship will be part of the curriculum. The efficient resourcing and effective governance through school complexes or clusters. As I already said, the Sahodaya movement, as well as, the hubs, the school hubs, which are getting created in smaller groups. Adequate number of counselors, trained social workers and teachers will be provided, and also adequate resources such as library, science labs, computer labs, skill labs, as it is Niti Aayog has provided Atal tinkering labs to certain schools all over the country, which are having the necessary, resources. And these ATL labs can reach out to the nearby schools as well. A sense of communities of teachers, schools, and students is going to be built, so that to overcome the isolation and joint professional development programs will take place. Therefore, the joint activities for art and science exhibitions, the sports meets, the quizzes, the debates and fairs will happen. Cooperation and support across the schools for education of children with disabilities. So, improved governance of schooling system by developing all final decisions to principals, teachers, and other stakeholders within each group to schools, and treating such a group of schools with a range from complexes to clusters. So, I think you had an overview of everything, and now coming to the CBSE's initiatives in making NEP go to each and every school and create, impact. The standard setting and accreditation for school education, NEP 2020 on standard setting and accreditation. Accreditation is going to be a very big component of school formulation of its policies. A self-regulation or accreditation system will be instituted for all stages of private, public, and philanthropic to ensure compliance with essential quality standards. So then there are going to be boards that will talk about standards, and then there will be compliance bodies that will ensure that they are following these standards. A minimal set of standards based on basic parameters, safety, security, infrastructure, number of teachers, financial probity, and sound processes of governance will be followed by all schools. The states and union territories will set up independent statewide body called State School Standard Authority, SSSA. Also, a CRT to develop a SQAAF, School Quality Assessment and Accreditation Framework through wide consultation. So this SQAAF will have certain features like self-assessment tool for schools, that easy, implementable, transparent, and objective tool. It will be having a focus on enhancement of quality, recognition of excellence, promotion of accountability, and benchmarking schools across a range of descriptors or indicators of assessments. So once the benchmarking is done and it is defined that what is good, this is the standard that we have, then each and every person tries to reach that standard. And that's how the standard of all the schools in the country will move up. CBSE has developed a comprehensive framework termed as School Quality Assessment and Assurance, and this will be at the school level based on proficiency of school. This will be piloted in the year 21-22, and finally it will get rolled out in the year 22-23. So pilot program is a few schools are given this program so that they can get back to CBSE as to where the shoe is pinching, where it is not happening the way it was envisaged, and that gap is then narrowed. How do we transform assessments and examination pattern? For this, what all has been done? A key stage assessment in 3, 5, and 8 pilot in selected schools will be conducted. Holistic report card for CBSE schools is being prepared. So 500 competency-based test items for 1 to 5 related to the measurement of each learning outcome has been stipulated by NCERT, and the work is going on. The pilot will be done in the beginning of now, April, May 21, and as and when school reopens, an online system is also being prepared. CBSE set up a center for assessment. It will be prepared standards linked to learning outcomes, assessment framework, item blueprints, and item development guidelines. Work initiated on the development of question banks for competency-based item HOTS for classes 6 to 8. This is already available on Diksha portal. I hope you all have accessed it. Training of paper setters. Moderators is going on standardized question paper so that the source or the case-based questions till it becomes 60%, that is higher order applications will be there. So we have competency and creative questions, which are uploaded on Diksha portal, and every school can download it and let the children do them. A manual on assessment as assessment for and assessment of learning is also being prepared. The other initiatives for capacity building of teachers, that is CBSE is offering generic as well as subject-specific teacher training programs. The same will be aligned to cater to the need of the newly recruited teachers. Already the Center of Excellence is working all over the country in various CBSE units are doing great work. And CBSE has its policy on in-service teacher training. This has been modified to make 15 hours mandatory CPD per year for teachers, increasing it from existing 35 hours. So there's been increase of 15 more hours. Now, CBSE will prepare small 10-minute mock classroom demonstrating a good class practice for experiential joyful learning. The board has introduced experiential learning, competency-based education, art and sports integrated education. You already have on the Diksha portal, if you can access it, the experiential learning and competency-based education modules. You can do these courses well in time and download, your own certificates and add value to your digital, certificates. And this is going to be a great resource for you for future. All schools are mandated to follow inclusive education to provide conducive learning in all subjects. The board has published already 36 manuals. There is a new look to the CBSE site already, and all 36 manuals are there to handhold teachers and training of teachers on newer pedagogies, on classroom management, inclusive education and subjects using 32 training manuals developed by CBSE. Work is going on for developing 5 foundational and numeracy training modules, which will be used for teachers training. What are the curricular initiatives taken up by CBSE so far? And it's ongoing. The art and sports indicated education, as we already know, that HPE, that is health and physical education, which we're already doing, the art integration we're already doing, principles pedagogical module which has come up is brilliant, and preparation of annual pedagogical plans that every school head is supposed to prepare, implementation of experiential learning pedagogies like art, sports integration, storytelling and gaming. Why so much of emphasis on experiential learning? Because when the child experiences something, the retention is better. Mathematics and Hindi at 2 levels. English and Sanskrit will also be introduced at 2 levels from the session 21-22. Introduction of 9 vocational courses of 12 hours duration will be there for classes 6 to 8 in 2020. Already some of them have been introduced and more will be coming for us. Ensuring competency-based education in schools. It is mandatory option of learning outcomes by CBSE schools. Creative and critical thinking practice tests, as I already told you. Informal assessments through student enrichment activities. Introduction of case-based questions in question paper design. Already in the sample papers given by CBSE this year of 10th and 12th, case-based questions have been introduced. And I think now they need to be done even in the lower classes so that children get the sense of it. Mandatory online training on experiential learning and competency-based education. Recently, 2-3 days back, a new notice has come in this regard, which I'm sure teachers would have seen it. So they can log on to Diksha portal and do these courses. Development of resource material, handbook on experiential learning, teachers' resource for achieving learning outcomes are important. Aryabhat Ganit Challenge, that's an online Ganit program. Children can do it and it's very, very successful. It's a Heritage India quiz. Every year it happens and children look forward to it. This year it's become even more vibrant because more and more children can log on. First of all, they do it, they learn, and then they perform a quiz. Then Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat activities, which are again brilliant. CBSE Science Challenge, the Junior Science Challenge, which recently was happening 2-3 days back. The Science Exhibition, Khelo India, this time that was again a great effort on the part of CBSE. The Expression Series, it keeps coming. Children keep writing essays and contributing. The Reading Challenge has once again back. So I think these programs have been done so beautifully by CBSE. The expectations from us, from schools, there is an expectation to focus on core essentials or learning outcomes. That is, we must focus on foundational skills in the lower grades. We must map the curriculum across grades and subjects to be defined LOs, and then focus on practical and application-based learning. We must enable the teachers to design such experiential and application-based activities which enhance creative and critical thinking skills. There has to be a stress on importance of foundational skills of literacy and numeracy in the junior levels. Transform teaching, I would say, it is important to transform teaching strategies or adopt innovative teaching to develop, strengthen, and achieve those foundational skills by grade 3. Remember, by the time a child reaches class 3, the child must have competence in reading well, writing well as calculating well. So this is one target that NEP is giving all of us, which is so important. Bring changes in classroom teaching in alignment with the NEP 2020, define, adapt learning outcomes, and link assessment with defined LOs. All the assessment should be linked to LOs. We just need to be clear what are the learning outcomes and then design the assessment on it. Adopt experiential learning pedagogies to achieve the defined LOs, integrate subjects and technology to create holistic learning experience. Also, they integrate the component of digital literacy to build in the scientific temperament. Plan the lessons which are grounded in real life situations and plan to promote multilingualism. Identify and nurture gifted students. Plan for CWSN, and that is SEDGs, already told you, socially emotionally disadvantaged groups or those who are having learning disabilities. Bring changes in the assessment pattern. Adopt varied modes of assessments. Focus more on assessment for life learning. Align assessment practices with the defined LOs. Carry out holistic, that is 360-degree assessment, as I have already explained. Design or create multidimensional holistic report card. Plan to track learning for each child. Also, remove separations between subjects and disciplines. So very important in grade 11 and 12, especially. Adopt a holistic educational approach by removing the hard separations between arts and sciences, between co-curricular and curricular, because art per se or sports per se should not be done. It should be integrated with the other subjects as well, academic and vocational streams. So vocational training students, as mentioned in the NEP, that is 1 or 10 bagless days for grades 6 to 8, must be planned and popularize vocational courses for them. Enable access and retention. So important that every child to continue education through RTE, that is right to education entitlement. Involve all stakeholders in the child learning process. Create safe and conducive environment. Maintain inclusive and clean infrastructure, and also monitor and track the health status of children through periodic health checkup. So important for schools. Self-audit on school quality assurance and accreditation framework, which they're going to give us the guidelines. Provide enabling resources both to students and teachers. Ensure that all students at all levels of school education are taught by passionate, motivated, highly qualified, professionally trained and well-equipped teachers. Recruit quality teachers as per NCT guidelines. Also to ensure capacity building at all levels, that is 50 hours of CPD, I've already told you. Nishtha, that is another important website, and Nishtha guidelines and courses that must be done by the teachers who are in grade 1 to 8. Training regular teachers to teach some appropriate vocational subjects. Identify, recognize, nurturing unique potential of the child. Use of technology platforms such as Swayam portal, very, very interesting portal, Diksha portal, basic health indicators, teaching the Indian languages, very important to emphasize on our own languages. Shift and also on mother tongue. It is important that we encourage the child to learn in the mother tongue right up to the age of grade 5. Shift in teaching learning from rote to inquiry-based, critical thinking, cognitive learning, assessment in learning and assessment for learning, implementation of holistic progress card. So also engagement with parents and community is important. That is, we can't just leave out their very important part of our society. Sensitize the parents if children with physical and learning disabilities are there. Take workshops with them. Prepare them to deal with the exam-related anxieties on substance abuse, sexual orientation for them. Send portfolios back to parents so that they can review them, understand what is the child doing in school, inform the parents about the kind of assistance that's required. Parents can also volunteer for various financial literacy and numeracy programs, field visits, expose them to lectures, have well-represented PTMs, And I think with all these things, parents and the community outreach work can be done by the schools in a very, very comprehensive manner. And this will help us to deal with physical learning disability. And the first generation learners can also, the parents of first generation learners can be sensitized if we are taking NEP also to the in a right spirit and manner. With this, I come to the end of NEP explanation. And thank you so much. I really enjoyed being with all of you. I hope you were able to add new knowledge to regarding NEP. You will all have to answer, I would say, a quiz that I'm sure the department is going to share with all of you. And over to Rama ma'am and Niti ma'am for taking this further. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aarti ma'am. I know it is very difficult to give the glimpses of such a comprehensive, huge document, and you have done it wonderfully well, and especially focusing on the areas which pertains to teachers. So thank you so very much. And teachers are once again reminded that they will get the link for attendance as well as for the quiz which they should attempt. And the link will close by 9 p.m. tonight. Link for the quiz. Thank you so much, ma'am. Once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just to add to what ma'am has said, the links that were forwarded by COE Panchkula already has the link for the quiz also. So, if you just go through it, you will get it. Otherwise, also we'll be putting in another round of links of the quiz. So please try to complete those questionnaires. Then only you will be available, you'll be eligible for the certification. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rama ma'am. Thank you, Aarti ma'am, for a wonderful session. Thank you so much. And thank you all the participants who are there from COE Panchkula. Thank you.